Start of this first race, round one, Phillip Island, the Australian round of the World Superbike Championship. And starting from pole position, remember, Aaron Slight, Yanagawa on the front row, Crafar alongside him, and Colin Edwards completing that front row of the grid. 22 laps, the race distance. And if they're anything like the races that we had in the final round of the World Championship last year, then we're in for a real treat. The last few riders making their way back to the grid. The man with the red flag is there stopping them. He'll move to the side of the track. They'll watch the lights. The lights will go green and the race will be on. The season will be underway. All the nerves will vanish as far as the riders are concerned, and they'll just get on with their job of making these bikes go as fast as they possibly can. So it's standby for blast-off for the 1997 World Superbike Championship. The lights go green, and pretty good start there too from James Whittam on the number 12 bike on the factory Suzuki. Whittam, I know, likes the rain, and that enhances his prospects of a good result here. But it's John Kaczynski, who was second in the wet warm-up this morning, who leads the charge at the moment around the first lap of the Phillip Island circuit. It's John Kaczynski, the former World 250 champion. Oh, and there's a faller there, 14, that's James Hayden. Well, his disappointing weekend continues, tries to pick it up, get back in the race, but meanwhile out on the track, Hodgson up into second place, and it's Kaczynski leading, Hodgson in second spot, and they're beginning to pull away from the rest of the field. In third place, it's Scott Russell on the Yamaha, and Hodgson moving up onto the tail of Kaczynski. Closing in there as they head downhill. Kaczynski running very, very wide indeed.
Yeah, Simon Craper's dropped back a little bit. He's back into fifth now. Colin Edwards has got him. Kaczynski a bit of a moment down over Luke in his AMG there, so we'll see how they come out onto the front straight. Kaczynski's still got a bit of a lead, but Hodgson certainly won't let him get away.
Kaczynski appears to have recovered from that running wide incident, and the 1-2-3 then is John Kaczynski, followed by Neil Hodgson. Scott Russell in third place ahead of his teammate Colin Edwards. But with one lap completed then, it is Kaczynski that leads at Phillip Island. Hodgson in second place. The lead there just 0.3 of a second. So Hodgson is clinging on for dear life in second spot. Scott Russell confirmed in third position ahead of Colin Edwards. Colin Edwards nearly 3 seconds behind, just over 2 seconds behind the race leader. In fifth spot, it's Simon Crafar, then Fogarty, Troy Bayliss in seventh place, and Peter Goddard in eighth. James Whittam in ninth place, and Damon Buckmaster in 10th spot. That's the top 10 rundown. Aaron Slight down in 12th position, so maybe Aaron Slight did have some sort of big problem early on that we didn't know about, but he is way down in 12th position, and won't be all that happy about that.
We certainly won't be happy with that. And who have we got here?
That's not Frankie, is it? It looks suspiciously like it might be.
I think it could well be Frankie. He's got his head down, and there's obviously good reason for that, but it's Kaczynski out in front at the moment. Hayden looking a little out of shape. Sorry, Hayden. Hodgson looking a little out of shape back up through the Estes of Siberia. And who have we got here?
That's yeah, Francesco Chili going down yet again. Oh, what a disastrous start to his season. Yeah, Francesco Chili fell off yesterday afternoon. He fell off yesterday, twice yesterday, didn't he, if I'm not mistaken? Fell off twice yesterday. And once again, the wind is knocked out of him, and that left shoulder, which he hurt yesterday, he's hurt yet again. So the nightmare continues for Pier Francesco Chili, but just look at the style of John Kaczynski. Kaczynski in dynamic form, leading this race ahead of Neil Hodgson, still clinging on in second place. A great performance there from the young British rider. It's Kaczynski completing lap 2. Neil Hodgson in the second spot.
Kaczynski having a look over at the pit board. He'll have the information that he's got +0, meaning he's got no time until Hodgson comes by as well, meaning he's right on his tail. So that'll put pressure on Kaczynski, and we'll see how he handles that as the race goes on.
Russell still in third spot ahead of Edwards and Crafar. Fogarty in sixth. Aaron Slight now up into fifth position, and James Whittam, who was going so well in the early stages, it looks like he has bitten the dust, and this is exactly what happened. Whittam, oh dear, the rear coming round there, and Whittam just flicked off his debut for the factory Suzuki team, ending in a crash there.
A bit hard on the throttle and trying to keep it really tight, and stood up on the way out of Honda hairpin. Whittam, and just snapped sideways and threw him over the top, and that's the end of his race.
Well, the end of the road for James Whittam. Aaron Slight up into 7th place. He was 12th at the end of the first lap, so he's picked up 5 places. So it looks like Aaron Slight is on the charge, but he's a long way back in 7th spot from Carl Fogarty, the 6th place man, around about 5 seconds. And it's not a good day for the Suzukis because Peter Goddard is down as well. Peter Goddard out of the action. And let's take a look at that. Oh, and almost a replica, really. Too early on the throttle for Peter Goddard, and the Suzuki goes cartwheeling out of the race.
Yeah, that's typical. You know, you're so keen to get going and make some ground, especially after, you know, a messy start you haven't been able to see because of the amount of spray and so forth. And John Kaczynski and Neil Hodgson are just pulling away so much, and I guess Goddard figured he had a good chance, which he did, and wanted to catch the boys before too many laps got on the board.
Now Neil Hodgson, it looks like he's on the charge to me. The gap was 0.3 of a second before, and the 2 Yamahas involved in a personal battle as well. Well, the gap just about the same between Kaczynski and Hodgson. That's good news for the British rider as we look at the scrap between Colin Edwards and Scott Russell on the 2 Yamahas for 3rd place. But the lineup at the moment is still Kaczynski ahead by just 0.3 of a second from Hodgson. Then it's Russell and Edwards. Fogarty in 5th place ahead of Simon Crafar with Aaron Slight in 7th place. Troy Bayliss is 8th and Damon Buckmaster 9th. A great performance from the 2 Aussies, and in 10th spot it's Akira Yanagawa on the Kawasaki.
This is where Colin Edwards' quality of being a smooth rider will come to the forefront, because he'll be keeping it tidy and just working down and getting every ounce of time that he can out of the circuit, you know, with his lap times. But Neil Hodgson just set the fastest lap, as you can see there on the screen.
Well, Hodgson on the charge, obviously gaining confidence from that terrific start that he had. Neil Hodgson up with the leaders right at the start of the race, and he'll be gaining confidence from that. He's just set the fastest lap of the race, and Neil Hodgson in 2nd place will be trying to close in on John Kaczynski, and that's just exactly what he's doing. He's right on the... Oh, and he's down! Oh dear. Neil Hodgson, and look, his hands are to his head immediately. Neil Hodgson goes sliding out of 2nd place, and he's not happy at all. He's running after the bike, but really, as to all intents and purposes, a promising start to the 1997 season. Goes sliding out of the race and onto the grass as we take a quick look at that incident again. The end of the road for Neil Hodgson.
It's a real easy place to do it. Hard on the brakes down the hill. You could see the front wheel lock in the slippery conditions, and in actual fact I did that myself in 92 in practice in a wet session on the Yamaha, and it's very easily done. It's quite steep over Lukey Heights there, but as we say, everybody else has got to negotiate it, and he's just got to get the thing around there.
Well, bitterly disappointed will be Neil Hodgson, there's no doubt about that, but that has handed a big lead now to John Kaczynski. Kaczynski had responded to the challenge from Neil Hodgson by upping his pace. He set the fastest lap of the race now, but he holds a 4.4 second advantage over Colin Edwards in 2nd spot. Russell in 3rd, that puts Fogarty up into 4th position. Crafar in 5th spot, and Aaron Slight now in 6th position ahead of Troy Bayliss. But a great disappointment for Neil Hodgson. He will be kicking himself.
No, big disappointment for Neil, but we've still got 18 laps to see if Colin Edwards can make it up onto the back of John Kaczynski out the front. And the track should dry off a fraction, and it'll be interesting to see the difference in the different brands of tyres as the chance. Scott Russell getting real sideways out of the fast right-hander on the way up to Lukey Heights there. That's the kind of action we'll see as the track dries out, because the softness of these rain tyres, they're like licorice almost when they're warm. They're that soft, and as soon as there's a bit of a dry line and no water to cool the tyres, they start almost what you call melting.
Well, the Dunlops of Scott Russell let him know there that he'd better watch out, he'd better treat them with respect. And Scott Russell in 3rd position, 6.5 seconds behind the race leader, John Kaczynski. Kaczynski in absolutely superb form. The question that everybody was asking throughout practice was, what on earth's the matter with John Kaczynski? He couldn't seem to get any grip, and he was right down He only qualified, remember, in 7th place, and people had expected a lot more from him. But when the chips are down, when the race is on, John Kosinski there out front, 5.5 seconds now. He leads over Colin Edwards. Russell in 3rd spot ahead of Fogarty and Draper.
John Kosinski obviously got out of the right side of the bed this morning, and it's getting a bit sideways there too. That's very fast corner down under the bridge there into Honda hairpin.
6th place then, Aaron Slight ahead of Yanagawa, Troy Bayliss, Damon Buckmaster and Marty Craghill. That's the top 10. But right at the top of the leaderboard, John Kosinski. Oh, and a good scrap going on there by the looks of it between Aaron Slight and the number 6 bike of Simon Crafer. And Slight picks up a place. Slight now up into 5th position. And 2 Castrol Hondas in the top 5. And Rhea moving about all over the place. And it looks like Crafer's maybe just deciding to take it just a little bit easy. Not going to try any great heroics, whereas Aaron Slight's decided, well, I don't mind it out here. I'm going to have a bit of a charge through the field. The gap between Kosinski and Slight, 16.1 seconds. Now, I suspect that it's a bit less than that now, because that was when Slight was... Oh, and down he goes. Oh, dear, oh, dear. As long as you had let go of that one.
And same again. He's going to try and get the thing going again.
Straight up on his feet.
Yeah, he's not going to give up that anyway. Yeah, and it's that slippery place over Lukey Heights. He's broken something off the bike. Probably it's got no foot peg and no front brake lever, so unfortunately for Aaron, back to the pits.
Yeah, bitter disappointment there as he heads down the hill. Yeah, again under the brakes. He tries a quick dab there, but it didn't seem to do any good. And has he got his hand caught? It looks as if he might have got his hand caught there.
He might have got it hung up on the clutch lever, I think, his left hand, and couldn't get it off, maybe the edge of the glove or something. But
now look how quickly he's up on his feet. The adrenaline's still pumping, wanting to get right back in the race. So, well, something happened right at the very beginning as far as Aaron Slight is concerned. We'll try and get news of that if we possibly can, but not a happy race as far as he is concerned. That's after 6 laps of the 22-lap races. The lap race, Kosinski now with a 7-second advantage over Colin Edwards. That's how it is at the top, moving up into the top 12. Mike Hale on the Suzuki. He's only ever ridden 1 race before in his life when in wet conditions, so he's not doing too badly at the moment aboard the factory Suzuki.
Yeah, traditionally the Americans road racing would not race when it's raining. They would only race in dry conditions. And Aaron Slight's problem there may have been that he opted for quite a hard rain tyre, and that's why he stayed in the pits and missed the siding lap with the tyre warmers on to keep the heat in. Whether that's the decision or not, I guess will pay the price.
Certainly, the front tyre lost adhesion under braking, and that put paid to the aspirations of Aaron Slight. But whatever choices he has made, John Kosinski appears to have made the right ones, because Kosinski, with 7 laps now completed as he crosses the finish line this time, Kosinski has a healthy lead at the front of the field over this man, Colin Edwards. Edwards fastest this morning, and doesn't mind racing in the rain, as you heard a little earlier on from his own lips. Came up through motocross, and motocrossers used to controlling a sliding bike, and Colin Edwards doing that at the moment in 2nd place, 8.3 seconds down on the race leader John Kosinski, with Scott Russell a further 2 seconds back in 3rd position. Fogarty up to 4th place ahead of Crafar. Then it's Yanagawa, Troy Bayliss, Damon Buckmaster, Marty Craghill and Mike Hale. But Mike Hale was in 10th position, and just look at this. This is what happened to him.
Same again over Lukey Heights, locked up the front brake, lost the front end off the side and down into the same spot where all the marks are from the rest of the guys, I guess. Edwards that time passed the line, 8 seconds behind with 15 laps to go, so it's not unquestionable for Colin Edwards to catch John Kosinski out in front. Getting the bike on the move there, plenty Colin Edwards, but if Kosinski, maybe he can have moments, whatever, and Colin Edwards being on Dunlops also, and John Kosinski on the Michelins, whichever one works better. If Colin's Dunlops come to the fore in the drying line conditions, which is a lot less water around now than there was at the start of the race, it could give Colin the advantage he needs to get up and make a race out of it with John Kaczynski.
You would think an 8.3 second advantage at the front of the field would be plenty for John Kaczynski to be able to relax, but it may well be, as you say, that the tyres are going to get worse as the race goes on. And it looks a little brighter than it was. There's some blue sky up above us, and it doesn't appear to be actually raining at the moment, so it looks like we could have a drying race, and that could mean that John Kaczynski could slow dramatically in the closing stages. We're not yet halfway through, 8 laps completed, and a 9-second advantage now that John Kaczynski has. So he's pulled out just a little bit more over Colin Edwards. Russell still in third spot ahead of Fogarty and Craigfer. We're on board now with the second place man, Colin Edwards, and as you can see, there's no sign of John Kaczynski ahead of him. That's confirmation of the top 6. And normally there's just, well, a fraction, sometimes less than a second between the first 6 riders in the Superbike race. 30 seconds, 31 seconds, that's more than half a minute between first and 6th place men in this race so far. Scott Russell in third position, 3 seconds down on his teammate. Oh, and down goes Russell. Oh dear, oh dear.
He got sideways a little in the middle of that turn and got out of the seat a bit, and I guess now he's going that little bit slower and thinks that he can get on the throttle that the bit harder, and it just snapped and threw him straight out of the seat and up in the air. He's trying to get the thing going. The engine's, he got the throttle then, no, he's let go, the engine stopped.
Well, it looks like he may well be having a go to get back in the race, but
he's certainly going to have a go.
He's done quite a bit of excavating by the looks of it. So he's dug himself quite a large hole in the mud.
He's trying to push start it at the moment. He's got the thing going, I think. Yeah.
Stewards may well take a dim view of him going the wrong way around the track for it, even though it was only a few yards.
Yeah.
But we'll wait and see. I think maybe...
I think he might have given him...
Maybe just trying to get back.
Now, he gets a little bit sideways early on, and then he's been through that, and watch just back comes around, his feet are everywhere and thrown over the front of the bike out into the dirt.
Yeah, he tried to collect it, didn't he? And this is what it looks like if you happen to be Scott Russell. Whoops. Well, it flips one way, then the other, and then there's nothing but sky, and probably just a little bit of dirt is going to appear in a minute. There you go. As I told you, he'd done a bit of excavating, and that's what it looks like. So the end of the road for Scott Russell. That puts Carl Fogarty up into third position, and Kaczynski is pulling away at the front of the field. He's now 11 seconds clear of Colin Edwards. Fogarty a further 6 seconds back in third place. Craigfer, Yanagawa, and Troy Bayliss. Oh, a great performance from Bayliss, up into 6th place now.
Brilliant there from Troy. He's definitely going on the move. And next, Marty Craggill's followed by him. So, and apparently Craig Connell is down the road as well, joining the rest of them in these slippery conditions. Again, down over Lukey, right next to his teammate, I think Jason Love. Craig Connell again, same story, just sitting there waiting to stop, sliding down into the grass.
Well, a carbon copy once again. A number of people have gone down there, obviously very treacherous, and in among the traffic now is John Kaczynski, and that will be good for him. He got through them quite cleanly, and Kaczynski now just racing away. Well, just as we were saying that Troy Bayliss was having such a good ride, it looks like disaster struck for him.
Troy Bayliss on his backside. Can't wait to stop. That was right on the middle section of Honda hairpin down there. Bike spinning around. He's trying to catch the bike. I guess the throttle's still stuck a little bit maybe, and spinning the back wheel and spinning the bike around. He's trying to catch it. But
yeah, it's just a human roundabout there, wasn't it? Trying to run around. We shouldn't laugh at other people's misfortune, but that did look funny. Poor old Troy Bayliss, going so well, was up in the 6th place, but not anymore.
And it sounds like Colin Edwards down the road too. And again, down into MG hairpin over the hill, and he will have lost the front. He's gotten in a lot further than the other guys got. Looks like a little bit of a wet spot there. Lost the front end and straight down on the side, Colin Edwards. So,
well, this race turning into a real war of attrition as they go down, and that is poor Colin Edwards. Was in second place, very disappointed. The whole Yamaha team has gone, the whole factory Suzuki team has gone, one of the Hondas has gone. So, I mean, I said right at the very start of the race that it was going to be a lottery, that anything can happen, and quite a lot of it has. The race leader, John Kaczynski, apparently untroubled by all of this.
As long as he can stay out of trouble, I think John's
all the way
good.
All the way around the outside there. As we've just gone by Colin Edwards, who appears to be deciding to push the bike home. But that changes everything. The 1-2-3 now is Kaczynski, a massive lead, 18 seconds over Carl Fogarty. Simon Crafer in third spot ahead of Yanagawa, so the two Kawasaki's are still in there. Troy Bayliss is out of it. Marty Craggill now up into fifth place then, by the looks of it.
I noticed a dry line in the long lefts around onto the front straight. It was starting to dry way out wide. There's plenty of still water laying on the front straight in patches, so they'll be able to cool the tyres down a little down there.
Yeah, but you can see that the sun is definitely out now. There's a definite shadow under that bike, and that'll be a worry for some of them, won't it?
Yeah, that makes it dry up. Even that fraction that it does dry up just, can sometimes tip the tyre over the edge. It might be just hanging on at the moment, but then it puts it out of the ballpark.
They'll actually be looking for the wet bits, won't they?
Yeah, Kaczynski should be looking for the wet bits and taking it easy. Not burning too much out of the tyres, not letting them spin too much.
The aerial view of the race leader, John Kaczynski, the man from Arkansas. Quite an outspoken character, to say the very least, John Kaczynski. He doesn't speak terribly highly of many of his rivals. Let's just put it that way. And a difficult and deep character, but a man who can certainly ride a motorbike and no mistake. On the factory Honda, there's talk already, and we're only in the first race of the 1997 Superbike season. There's talk already that he's going Grand Prix racing, back to Grand Prix racing in 1998. That remains to be seen, but he's setting about the task of making sure he goes back as the reigning Superbike champion, because he's in fine form. Carl Fogarty, we haven't seen much of him so far, but Fogarty 18 seconds down on the race leader in second place. He steered clear of trouble, and that has given him second place. He hasn't really had to do too much overtaking. People have fallen in front of him, and Carl has been happy to snap up the advantage that has given him. Perfectly happy riding in the wet, Carl Fogarty. But you just have to look at his body language. He doesn't look like the aggressive Foggy that we see on a dry track, does he? No,
he certainly doesn't. He's just trying. He'd be seeing all the attrition on the side of the track, so he'd be just picking up places without trying to go too fast. Anyway, just through the rate of attrition. So Carl Fogarty, I guess, just keeping it together and making sure firstly he stays on it.
And that was a glimpse of Fogarty's eye view of the Phillip Island circuit just over the start and finish line, and we're back with Carl Fogarty now as we head around Phillip Island.
Yeah, it's into Southern Loop. Tricky corner this, a lot of camber changes and a double apex before you come back out and head down through the fast left-hander under the bridge. This would be quite tricky getting down through under there. Flattened, a little slippery down there. You can see that there's not much water on the race line, and then where the track flattens out here, it still is. Into Honda, hard under brakes. A little bit of a bump just there, then on the throttle, nice and easy on the throttle here, certainly in these conditions. And head back down, that's the ocean in the background to Siberia. Quite heavily banked corner Siberia, so there's a fair bit of grip. Normally and under these conditions, then as you accelerate out, it flattens out a little and then drops off even more before you head back through the S's. This right-hander is a real tricky one. There's only 3 right-handers on the track as such, 2 are hairpins and 1's that fast king. Up around Lukey, getting past, I think that was Steve Tozer. Well, down into MG, this is a lot of white marks on the road there from all the boys. A little bit of water running across the track there. A Carl seems to take it quite wide around there. I noticed that last lap around MG. And then just keep it nice and tight right on the curb and the drive line through the first of the series of lefts out onto the front straight. Rumble of the big Ducati there. Not working too hard, certainly in these conditions, but have all the valves opened up once he gets on the front straight here.
Well, that's a lap with Carl Fogarty currently in second place. 18 seconds now down on the race leader, John Kosinski. And the former double world champion will be delighted at his good fortune, really. He's steered clear of trouble while his rivals have fallen by the wayside. The two Yamahas went out. Fogarty made a reasonable start, but nothing spectacular. But he's been able to pick up the places.
Getting waved past there by Sean Giles, Carl Fogarty was. You know, give him the motion with the foot to get down the right side of me. I'm leaving room for you. What's difficult now, catching up to all these guys, it's when there's a little bit of a dry line, you've got to get out in the wet more, which you don't like because the slower riders can actually go faster on the dry line. But it looks like they're mostly obeying the blue flag and moving over and letting the faster riders through on the race line. Fogarty's certainly keeping it together, not using too much throttle or burning the tyres up too much, I guess. He'd be real happy to score points from second place for leading into the championship.
I think Fogarty will be very happy with that. And so too will the race leader, John Kosinski. 13 laps gone, and it's Kosinski from Fogarty, and that gap at the front remaining constant, 18.5 seconds. It is now Simon Crafer way back, 34 seconds behind the race leader in third spot. Yanagawa fourth. Troy Bayliss still in fifth position, but more than a minute behind the race leader. And at this rate, Kosinski is going to lap everybody except the top four. But the sun is still out, it's still drying out there. And the big question is, will the tyres last the race distance?
I think they will, you know, certainly well enough for John Kosinski, because he can ease back the pace quite a little bit and not cook the tyres too much. So obviously John's sitting in a very good position. It looks like the tyres, that's Scott Russell back on board on the Yamaha there, that John Kosinski is just coming up to, I guess, lap at least once, unless Scott Russell's been into the pits for some repairs.
Well, according to our timing monitor, Scott Russell in 8th position is going to pick up a few points.
That's great that he got the thing back up and got it going. Because again, racing the championship, you need to pick up all the points you can get, and if you've got to pick the bike back up with dirt on it and finish down the field, so what, as long as you get some points to put towards your championship tally.
Look at the Kawasaki teammates first. We saw a few moments ago Simon Crafer. This is Kira Yanagawa, 26 years of age. Just 3 World Superbike races to his credit so far. And no victories, but it could well be a matter of time if he continues with the promise that he showed here on Friday afternoon. Akira Yanagawa is a name to look out for in the future. Yanagawa in 4th position, 41 seconds down on the race leader, John Kosinski.
That was certainly a strong performance from Yanagawa on Friday, and it caught everybody by surprise. But he got slid back down the grid a little bit on the Saturday afternoon, but he's keeping it all together here and riding very wisely. And that's what you've got to do, because you've got a whole year to pick up points, and on a day like this you just got to do what you can do. Up the inside of the slower rider there and keeping it nice and tight. I've never seen Yanagawa get around MG that tight before. Normally he stays quite wide.
Well, it seemed to do the trick. He's past the slower rider, who's Ben Archibald, was it? Yeah, Ben Archibald there having a go.
Used to be on the Ducati dealer team 916, but not on that bike anymore, on a Kawasaki ZX7RR, so doing his best out there under the circumstances today. And
John Kosinski not slackening the pace at all. In fact, increasing his lead over Carl Fogarty. Another second. It's now 19.5 seconds between those two, and Kosinski reeling off laps at A 151 in the 151s lap after lap. Kosinski in absolutely superb form, provided his tyres are going to last the race distance.
I think he's obviously made a good tyre choice, because even though the track's drying, he's not slowing up the pace too much, considering the lead he's got. I mean, he's only got 7 laps to get around yet. And the difficult part there is when you're out front in these conditions with a big lead, you've got to maintain the concentration absolutely 100%. And that's one good way to lose concentration. As soon as you back the pace off, you know, it's like the adrenaline stops flowing, you lose your focus a little bit, and it's quite easy to make a mistake. So that's probably John's plan, just to keep the hammer down.
Well, he's got to do it for another 7 laps. He's been given the sign in his pits, plus 22. I think that's a little bit optimistic. We've got plus 19, but as we sit here in our commentary position just on the start line, we have to take a look back and see what the gap is between Carl Fogarty. We're still waiting for Fogarty, and long gone is John Kosinski.
Kosinski got past Andy McLeod and shook his fist at him then, and McLeod had to go back at him on the entry into Southern Loop, so he might be a bit wild with him. So that's not maybe a good move to upset one of the slower riders who can race with you and bring you undone. As you can see, the track's drying on the line through there, down through the fast left-hand sweeper into Honda hairpin, so it still may well change. 6 laps to go now, and a lot of riders out there using up a lot of different parts of the track.
It's probably the traffic, but that lap was slower for John Kosinski, 152.6. But having said that, it was even slower for Carl Fogarty, who's now 20 seconds down in second spot, with Crafer a further 10 seconds back, or more than that, further 18 seconds back in third position. But so far, John Kosinski hasn't put a foot wrong in his quest for a 6th World Superbike Championship victory. His first win last year at Misano in Italy. 5 wins all last year, and it looks like John Kosinski is setting about the task this year with gusto. He wants to win the World Championship, he wants to win it bad, and he's staking a claim here with this first race of the 1997 season. Those are the 5 laps, fairly consistent, but I think the variations really are probably down to traffic, Kevin.
Yeah, you know, you get caught up, you get pushed offline a little, you've got to go around them, you know, and as I said before, it's wetter on there outside or up the inside if you've got to go really tight to get by, and yeah, it just messes up the whole fluid motion of getting around here in the slippery conditions.
5 laps remaining then for the 30-year-old from Little Rock, Arkansas, based in Spain now. But John Kosinski in absolutely magnificent form. Obviously the conditions very much to his liking. He's come on a lot, and that'll give him a big confidence boost. But if things carry on like this, it could well be a dry Phillip Island track for the second race this afternoon. And then once again, it could be wide open, because all the work has been done to take account of a wet race. The forecast, I have to say, it's not good for this afternoon. As you can see, there's plenty of black clouds there in the sky, but there is quite a large and growing patch of blue sky up above us, and the sun is out. The sun is shining on the track. There's a definite dry line now around most of the circuit, and there will be a lot of anxious discussions, I'm sure, going on in the team management circles at the moment.
Yeah, the track's drying out in a big hurry right now, and we've still got 4.5 laps to go, and you know, there's no doubt about it. It'll certainly cook the tyres, especially with this pace that John's holding at the moment.
There's 4.5 laps to go, and all of a sudden, looking at the timing monitor, Carl Fogarty rounding a bit of a charge, because his his last lap was nearly 2 seconds, in fact more than 2 seconds quicker than Kosinski's, and the gap has narrowed to 17 seconds. I don't think that's enough, to be honest, to put Carl Fogarty in contention in the last couple of laps, but he's definitely on the charge as we look at Fogarty. That's the top 6, Kosinski, Fogarty, Crafer, Yanagawa and Bayliss. As we look at Carl Fogarty, and Fogarty, it does look as if there's a bit more purposefulness about him.
Bayliss obviously got his bike going after chasing it around in circles down there at Honda hairpin, and has got the thing up into 5th position, so that's incredible from Troy to get back on the thing and get it up as high as 5th after having his his bike go down the road.
Carl Fogarty, the gap, well, the gap's gone back to 18 seconds. So as Fogarty disposes of yet another rider, 48 Craig Stafford. Those are the last 5 laps of Carl Fogarty. You see that quick one in there, 51.492. Oh, and a moment there, the tyres obviously are getting just a little bit hot to handle. They're turning to treacle, as you said earlier on, getting very sticky with these closing stages as the track dries out.
Yeah, Carl would certainly be better off. I mean, that distance, you know, something major is going to have to happen to John Kosinski with 3.5 laps left to go. So Carl would obviously have a lot more to lose than to gain, even to try to attempt to bridge that gap, because he's got a huge cushion, almost 20 seconds back to Simon Craper himself. So there's no real need for Foggy to go. He'd be better off to just sit there and pick up the points.
Well, it's been a race absolutely jam-packed, full of incidents so far, and just less than 4 laps to go now for the race leader, John Kosinski. Is there going to be much more incident in the closing stages of this opening round of the 1997 World Superbike Championships here at Phillip Island? Carl Fogarty, I think, probably will decide that the points for second place are very much worth having, considering that a number of his what he will see as his rivals for the championship have fallen by the wayside, have crashed out of this opening round, and he'll be wanting to seize the advantage. He'll know that John Kosinski is way out in front with a lead of round about 18 seconds. Let's just have a look and see what the gap is as Carl Fogarty crosses the start and finish line with 3 laps of this race to go. It's 19 seconds now. So in fact, either Fogarty's decided that there's no point in charging, or John Kosinski has upped his pace a little bit, probably a little bit of both, I suspect, and John Kosinski should be now just cruising around these last 3 laps towards his first victory of the 1997 season and the 6th in his World Superbike career.
Simon Craper there posting his last lap about the same, 1/10 of a second slower than John Kosinski. So Craper's definitely got some consistently fast times there. The last couple are a little bit slow, but maybe got tangled up getting by some of the lap riders.
Craper will be absolutely delighted with this 3rd place, and the Kawasaki team really are the most consistent team out there at the moment. 2 of their riders still in the top 4, whereas none of the other top teams could really claim to have both riders still going.
Yeah, that's right. We saw both the Yamahas go down, so amazing that the Kawasaki's are still holding out 3rd and 4th, and Yanagawa's only about 8 seconds behind Craper, so he'll have to watch his back a little bit. He certainly won't let his teammate beat him, that'll be for sure.
It's still an awful, it's still quite a large gap though between Simon Craper in 3rd position and Yanagawa in 4th place. 19 laps completed of the scheduled 22 laps. As we look at the race leader, John Kosinski, who got an absolute flyer of a start. He got the drive away from the line. He led into the first corner, and he's led ever since. And he hasn't put a wheel wrong throughout this race. 2 laps to go for John Kosinski. 20 laps completed, and they've been 20 superbly executed laps as far as the Castrol Honda Ace is concerned. Kosinski in absolutely magnificent form.
On that note there, Paul, I did notice I was certain some smoke off the grid. Maybe John Kosinski lit up the rear tyre to get some extra heat into the middle of it before the green flag, so that he could get maximum traction off the line, because it certainly looked like his rear tyre was stuck very well.
Well, he definitely got the go, didn't he? He got away from the grid absolutely superbly. And, as you can hear from our effects microphone, somebody loves John Kosinski, cheering him on around these last couple of laps of the 1.5 kilometre Phillip Island circuit. Kosinski, well, there's the last 5 laps still lapping very consistently, 1:53. They're slowing just a little bit, but I think the difference is probably just the amount of back markers that comes across on each occasion. These laps now, everybody up to the 6th place man, who is Marty Craghill. and Troy Bayliss is still in 5th position, but he's a minute and a half behind the race leader. So if the race, well, he stands a chance of being lapped by John Kaczynski, and who has lapped up until the top 5. Only 5 riders now on the same lap as Kaczynski completes his 21st lap and begins his final lap of the opening race of the 1997 season. The Castrol Honda star is just 4.5 kilometres from victory here at Phillip Island. Carl Fogarty, the gap just 15 seconds. I really hope that Fogarty's not going for it.
No, I think John's eased the pace off a little bit. Troy Bayliss was actually a second faster than him last lap, so, you know, not to say that Troy's going slow by any means. He's doing 52s as well, so Kaczynski, I guess he'd be pretty silly if he was trying to run it right down to the wire. Just ease up just a fraction on it.
Yeah, Fogarty will want these points, as I said earlier on, given that many of his rivals have fallen by the wayside, as the John Kaczynski fan club cheer their man. Well, there's no accounting for taste, that's all I can say. Somebody has to love him. Kaczynski, though, you have to say, has been absolutely superb. He's done everything right. He
certainly has, from start to finish, and Simon Craper's last lap there was 50.7, so he's put in a hell of a flyer down the end of the race. That's surprising, actually, but I guess he pulled one together and had a clear lap with the track drying, so he's put in quite a fast time there at the end.
It's completely dry in some places, isn't it?
Yeah, it'll be, as I said, the tyres will be turning to licorice, but maybe Craper's just getting on the throttle and having fun on the last couple of laps and tearing up the tyres because it doesn't matter now.
Well, you've got to be careful doing that. That can end in disaster if you're not very careful. But John Kaczynski now heading towards the checkered flag, and John Kaczynski, #1, he says, the first winner of the 1997 season. John Kaczynski picks up maximum points aboard the Castrol Honda. Victory for Kaczynski and Honda. Carl Fogarty crosses the line to take 2nd place. 15.7 seconds behind the race leader, and a healthy lead over the 3rd place man, who should be Simon Craper. We look at Craper, the Kiwi, takes 3rd place. Yanagawa, his Kawasaki teammate, finishes in 4th position, and there will be smiles in the Kawasaki camp, and no mistake, there is Yanagawa taking the checkered flag to finish in 4th spot, and then it's an awful long gap. 40 seconds down Yanagawa was on the race leader, John Kaczynski. And the next man, and the only man still on the same lap, is Troy Bayliss, and he has done that despite crashing earlier in the race, as we saw in that amusing incident where he chased his bike round in a circle. But he obviously got back on board, and he still hasn't crossed the finishing line yet, but any second now he should be crossing the finish line in 5th position. Kaczynski stands on the foot pegs to salute the crowd, and unfortunately a thinner crowd than the organisers would have liked. And Bayliss crosses the line, the last rider still on the same lap as the race winner, and he will be absolutely delighted with a hard-fought 5th place. Some race results come easily, and that one obviously didn't come very easily at all for Troy Bayliss, having fallen off in mid-race, got back on and battled his way to finish 5th and pick up those points. He'll be delighted with that, as John Kaczynski acknowledges the applause of the crowd. Kaczynski, the first race winner of the season, a winner at Phillip Island, and the 6th victory of his World Superbike career.
Field to collect the first win of the season ahead of Fogarty and Craper, but the track was dry for the start of race 2.
Race 2, and they line up exactly the same as they were for race 1. This man, Aaron Slight, on the Honda, is on pole. Then the remarkable Japanese, Akira Yanagawa, putting that Kawasaki alongside Slight. His teammate, Simon Craper, the likeable New Zealander, in 3rd place. And in 4th place, well, it is Colin Edwards II, the American on the Yamaha. This is Scott Russell. Russell is back on the 2nd row of the grid. And he is right behind his teammate Colin Edwards, so watch out, Colin, keep your feet in. They come under starters' orders. That's the corner that caught so many out in race 1. That was when it was wet and slippery. Now it's obviously dry and slippery. Yanagawa from Slide Ducati, Virginio Ferrari's #1 teamster, out in front. Can Fogarty hold it to the line? Over the curb cam, Slight still out there, lays it down on the sand. Luckily, there's a lot of runoff at that corner. Yanagawa out of the equation. And we're on board. Colin Edwards, your race leader, on the last lap. Edwards then fighting away. Aaron Slight right on his tail. Really got to concentrate and start, as it would for any of the manufacturers for that matter. Edwards leads. Slight is second. He takes the win from Colin Edwards on the line. What a brilliantly judged race from Aaron Slight. The New Zealander then making it a double for Honda. John Kaczynski won race 1, and you've got to feel sorry for Colin Edwards. He did everything right. He got the Yamaha onto the front straight first on the last lap, but the power of the Honda out of the slipstream, and by the line, it was Aaron Slight, and he knew it.
Honda horsepower wins it on the line for Aaron Slight, and that's the closest a New Zealander can come to a home win. But though he's celebrating now, it's his teammate John Kaczynski who leaves Australia on top of the points table. It's not by much, but he's there. He's got a 1-point advantage over Carl Fogarty, who's likewise just 1 point in front of Crafer as they head off back to Europe.